When you think about Chicago, what comes to mind? The Magnificent Mile, deep dish pizza, Lake Michigan, Chicago-style hot dogs, and then some other things, like Al Capone. But as a real Chicagoan, I know that our city has so much more to offer. I'm Rob Foytik, and I lead neighborhood tourism at Choose Chicago, the city's official tourism bureau and destination marketing organization, which basically means I get to work with residents all over the city to promote the best parts of where they live. I've eaten deep dish downtown, had a cocktail in the sky, and enjoyed a hot dog, no ketchup, in the friendly confines. But past the well-trodden downtown areas, I've found some of the real places driving our culinary narrative. From the Puerto Rican family making Jibarritos, to the neighborhood legend who's been making donuts by hand for the last 50 years. These are the places that have actually enabled us to become the culinary capital of the country. Since food is such a natural entry point into culture, we'll use these delicious bites, holes in the wall, and hidden gems to learn the complicated history of some of our city's 77 neighborhoods. And meet the people who make these areas beyond downtown must-visit cultural destinations. Let me take you on a journey to the 77. Every street in Bronzeville is rich in history. Bronzeville was a mecca for Black culture in the early 20th century, and that legacy continues today through popular art, music, and literature. The near Southside neighborhood boasts art galleries, classic eateries, and historic mansions, making it a must-visit destination. The community here has focused on inclusive prosperity to foster economic growth and to preserve the neighborhood's authentic character. So how does Bronzeville find the balance between progress and preservation? Spend some time in Bronzeville, and you'll learn that many of the businesses here aren't just one thing. They're part of a larger ecosystem intended to revitalize the neighborhood. One example is Little Black Pearl, a youth nonprofit that houses an arts and design studio, a co-working space, and Carver 47, a health and wellness market and cafe where you can get a cold-pressed juice, a healthy bite, and even a bouquet of fresh flowers. Come on, let's check it out.
I love everything about this place. So I tell people, if you haven't been in Carver 47, make that a stop for yourself.
Very diverse, very friendly, vegan friendly.
Everything is fresh, the greenery, the flowers, everyone is friendly.
I really love the integration of art and food. It just bleeds through the whole menu and the environment overall.
When you walk into Carver 47, you are just really encumbered with a lot of color, smell, life.
Chef Liz and I, we really created this out of love. It was about creating a feeling of connection, of belonging, kindness, and generosity, and demonstrating that we can address social issues in the context of building businesses. We started with a conversation about how to expand the narrative about an African-American icon. Dr. Carver, his legacy and his narrative had sort of been reduced to the Peanut Man. And what we know is that his life was so much more. He was humanitarian, he was a botanist, a visual artist, and a musician. And so he just had such a life that we wanted to bring into a business model.
So there are so many fresh and healthy options on here. Tell me a little bit about the menu.
I feel like the way to celebrate him with this menu is to make sure we have a lot of raw but composed food. So we have, always, 7, 8, juice combinations, 7 or 8 smoothies. They shift a bit with the seasons. I always have a ginger shot available, apple cider tonic, just like things to really help people navigate what their bodies need.
My favorite menu items have been the juices. I think the one that I order the most frequent is the joy juice. Feels like I'm drinking joy.
The pastries are amazing. Satisfies my sweet tooth, so I love that.
Knowing that there are healthy options, live foods, live flowers and plants, I think it's just another way of elevating opportunities for individuals who live here.
Monica and I really wanted to make sure that people in this community of Bronzeville had the service of really beautiful food. Like, I don't want to have to go downtown for like avocado toast. You know, I don't want to have to go that far to have a meal with like fresh herbs that were grown outside.
We serve a lot of farm-to-table food and focus on access to a higher quality food at a lower price.
We have, the orchard smoothie, which is really got a lot of great juices and elements in it. We have the lamb burger, which has like a really great feta dill sauce. I really enjoy this. We have chicken salad BLT. This is the best chicken salad on the South Side.
Carver really is the first face that people see that represents Little Black Pearl, which has been here for many years on the corner of 47th and Greenwood. I think the business of art really is tied to Bronzeville in a deep way because people of color and Black people in particular, we had to create something from nothing in a lot of instances. And that creativity and that ability to build a full, vibrant community, it's almost like a template for those of us that are working now.
There's a lot of history in Bronzeville. Folks like to call it an up-and-coming neighborhood, but I think it's already alive and well, and a lot of the history still lives and breathes in the people that are around every day.
I mean, it's important to have, these opportunities for Black artists and Black business to be uplifted in these communities and uplifted by everybody.
And so being here, it feels like it's redefining and changing a narrative around what it means to support a Southside community.
There is a powerful ancestral energy in Bronzeville of innovation, of agency, entrepreneurship, creativity, and of faith. And I really think we are being invited by just being here to participate in this great energy.
I think we're just at the beginning of something really beautiful with the neighborhood growing and becoming probably, in my mind, one of the most interesting and creative communities in Chicago.
It feels like a lot of folks in Bronzeville aren't just running their businesses, but they're really thinking about a bigger ecosystem.
History repeats itself, right? And I think that's what's going on in Bronzeville today. Bronzeville finds its origins as the Black metropolis because it was left out of Chicago's ecosystem. So Chicago's going through this big boom through the 1920s and none of it's reaching Bronzeville. And so they have to create a city within a city.
Bronzeville, there was this really explosion, this evolution of culture that developed into new and exciting forms of expression. So it became really the focal point for Black culture and the crucible in which forms of art were created.
I always think of Bronzeville kind of like a diamond. I know that a lot of the stories that are told about Bronzeville always talk about how densely it was populated. And I think it's because of that density that so much creativity was just literally oozing out.
It's almost like it's a neighborhood, but also an artist colony.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's a great way to put Bronzeville. Bronzeville gives us gospel music, right, with Mahalia Jackson and Thomas Dorsey. Then, we love talking about rock and roll, but the godmother of rock and roll is Sister Rosetta Tharpe. She inspired Elton John, Little Richard, Elvis, and she lived in Bronzeville.
This explosion in art and culture also led to a proliferation of public queer life. One of the few openly lesbian performers of the era, Ma Rainey, recorded some of her early blues records in Bronzeville. Black business owners even sponsored female impersonator shows, like the annual Finney's Ball that began in 1935, a precursor to the ballroom scene that led to today's drag shows. This same cultural liberation allowed the Black middle class to thrive, with many forms of commerce emerging out of this Black metropolis.
Bronzeville was in many ways truly a promised land. The Black Metropolis included what people call Black Wall Street, the finance industry. But at the heart of the Black Metropolis is the jobs and the commercial enterprises that were created to serve the community.
The playing field here, because of being boxed out of the economy of Chicago, allowed for folks in Bronzeville to circulate their own dollar, and that circulation really flourished.
That self-reliance also then leads to the creation of nationally significant organizations, nationally significant publications that really changed the course of American history.
Yeah, right. You can't truly activate, whether it's civil rights, whether it's the arts, without like the media, right? Robert Abbott and then John Senstack from the Chicago Defender would refer to themselves as the mouthpiece for 14 million African Americans in this country, with 2/3 of the readers not even being from Chicago. Of course, media mogul John H. Johnson's from Bronzeville, right? He created Ebony and Jet magazine. And the first ever Black feature filmmaker and the first Black on-air radio personality here in Bronzeville. It was really, really pivotal to have that space to be able to kind of push back from the narratives that were often portrayed in the national media.
It seems like there's a lot of history in Bronzeville that maybe a lot of us don't know about.
It's vast, right? We'd be here for an hour talking about all that Bronzeville has given the country. One of the main things is that, education is that great equalizer. The University of Chicago was early to allow African Americans to get advanced degrees, master's degrees, PhDs. It was close to Bronzeville, and when you're really close to others who are doing amazing things, it'll help you do amazing things.
Bronzeville hosted Providence Hospital, which was one of the first teaching hospitals that accepted Black trainees in the United States. And Daniel Hale Williams, one of the leaders of Providence Hospital, pioneered the first open heart surgery in Bronzeville. Bessie Coleman, who lived right here, was unable to get trained in the US, but was sponsored by the Chicago Defender to get training in France and became one of the first Black aviators in the country.
I mean, these are super significant players in how Black history has progressed over the last century.
And not just those organizations, but like the recording of Black history, right? Black History Month as a concept, it comes from Bronzeville.
So for most of its early years, this community was referred to as the Black Belt. Folks considered the Black Belt not to be the great part of Chicago that it is. And so Bronzeville was a name given to celebrate what this area was.
It's bronze, mahogany, cultured, it's rich.
The name of Bronzeville articulates our definition of this community as the promised land.
So walking through Bronzeville now, there's so much culture, there's obviously history that you can feel, but it's not necessarily that community that it was in the 20s and 30s.
So after a very famous Supreme Court case, the restricted racial covenants end and African Americans are able to move to other spaces. I don't want to paint the picture that they abandoned Bronzeville, but just Bronzeville was very, very overcrowded. There was about 300,000 folks living here, and there was room for about 150,000 of those folks. Just for the necessity of space, they start to move to other neighborhoods. When the affluent African Americans move away, they start to knock down Black homes and businesses.
We've lost literally dozens of iconic spaces, from the Regal to the Savoy and on. And when we lose those spaces, we lose a connection to that era in our history. The Forum is the only major space that remains intact today. So that's why we want to rehabilitate this space, because it gives us this very unique bridge, both to that history and to what's possible going forward.
So what does the path forward look like? The answer is complicated, but there may be clues in 100-year-old backdrops found in the attic of Forum Hall during its rehabilitation.
This is a reproduction of backdrops that we found in this attic. When you look closely, you see that there are several figures in the backdrop, But the three that are at the center are three black people. And not just black people at the boundary, at the border of it. It's black people at the center and pointing to the future. It foreshadows what was to happen in this community. Black Metropolis really drove this culture. Those things gave us a platform in developing the path forward.
Backdrops painted before the Great Migration, before Bronzeville was Bronzeville, illustrate the same enduring vision that many residents have adopted today, placing Black people and culture at the center of Bronzeville's identity and evolution.
That energy and vision is absolutely drawing people back. And Bronzeville today is experiencing a wonderful resurgence, a revitalization, a period of investment and growth. You're beginning to see new models of commerce and of social activity emerge. Blacks of all types are thinking about Bronzeville as still the center of Black Chicago and the soul of Chicago. We're revitalizing the institutions that have been here for many years. We are building new properties. We are creating wonderful new institutions.
There's a Ghanaian term that's entitled Sankofa. It means to go back and get it before you go forward. And so I believe a lot of people here are going back to reclaim our stories. We're going back to reclaim the narrative of Bronzeville.
You know, you have to invest in where you believe, and that's why I'm still here.
There's a vision of Bronzeville that's emerging, of a community that once again is fully employed, a community that is tremendously vibrant culturally, where on any given night of the week you can go and see a wonderful dance performance, where you can go and hear blues, jazz, R&B, hip hop in a number of clubs around the community. We can build a new metropolis. That's the vision that we're working to create.
There's definitely a distinct vision of the future being crafted in Bronzeville. One of those places helping drive that rebirth is Bronzeville Winery. More than a restaurant, Bronzeville Winery brings together food, music, and art in a dynamic community space that celebrates the legacy of this neighborhood. Come on, let's grab a drink.
Bronzeville Winery is a very vibrant, lively place. Incredible food, incredible service, and just a good vibe.
You know, it's a very unique, very warm vibe, very inviting atmosphere. Always music playing, you know, some old school, funky stuff.
And I know I'm gonna have the ambiance of like a great DJ, either live music, get a good glass of wine in the process, in the dining experience.
The decor, the art on the walls, just the overall vibe.
The part that people love about the space is the vibe. They always say vibe. Yeah, I mean, this space is all intention. I mean, from its very beginning of iteration, everything had to make sense. To me, space is about feeling. You know, you can build very beautiful spaces, but they feel cold. And so for me, it was like this measure of how do you make a space look very, very beautiful, but still feel like a home.
It feels like, you know, a Michelin star restaurant in the middle of, you know, River North or Lincoln Park or something like that, except it's in Bronzeville.
You know, I think the idea of Bronzeville Winery really came about from noticing what we didn't have in our own community.
I used to live 5 blocks away. And I found myself going back to the north side all the time.
When you go to spaces on the north side, when you go to spaces downtown, you really have this concept of like a walkable city where you can go and have a quick bite, sit on a beautiful patio, sit and listen to some live music.
We should have something in our neighborhood, you know? And so how can we create a space that is really gonna amplify the community, feature music, feature art, have a space for people to, you know, have jobs and hospitality, and just feel good about their neighborhood.
But also that championed those stories that don't get told often on menus or plates. And so whether it's somebody's first whiskey or whether it's somebody's first agave spirit, Bronzeville Winery is a storytelling piece for our community.
What are the wines you recommend I try?
Oh my gosh, would we like to do a quick little tasting?
I would love that, yeah.
What you want? First one I'm going to give you a tasting of is one of our reds. It is a red blend from South Africa. It is called Asalina. She is actually the first Black woman in South Africa to own a vineyard out there. So let me bring you that tasting.
I would love that, great. That is a bartender you don't find a lot of places, frankly, right?
Gabriella is dope.
We really focus on also making sure that we're highlighting on our menu a lot of vegan and vegetarian items because I think often it's an afterthought. The watermelon steak, which we changed during summertime to the watermelon nigiri on toasted rice. The beet salad with whipped herbed vegan feta is incredible. To be able to see them sitting really beautifully on a plate speaks to the vision that we had for the restaurant. So when you place that food menu item in front of you, we want you to stop and take a moment to observe it and appreciate it and give thanks for it and then share it with somebody next to you. Hospitality is one of the last playing fields or career playing fields where you have access to create your own general wealth simply based on how hard you work.
It's the people that work here, their first time working in hospitality, learning and training. The folks in the kitchen who get a chance to be very creative in their own neighborhood.
If I can train somebody from this neighborhood with a skill set to run a restaurant, to be a chef, to be a bartender even, you'll have livelihood and longevity forever.
It's not one thing, it's many things. It's the fact that they're here in Bronzeville proves that the consideration for this community is valid and viable.
I kept hearing Bronzeville used to be this.
I mean, it really was a city of makers and dreamers where anything was possible.
My grandmother moved to Bronzeville when she came during the Great Migration from Mississippi in 1924. She told me all the stories of going out and Dizzy Gillespie and Ella Fitzgerald and all of the jazz clubs and what that meant for her.
We wanted to retell those stories and emulate those spaces.
Bringing what Bronzeville used to be, when my parents were telling me about what Bronzeville was, to the modern times, bridging that gap between the two. And it's pretty dope to see the transition happen.
And even the name, it's Bronzeville Winery, but I wanted that name to be what people lead with. It's an ode to the neighborhood. And so this is just the beginning iteration of what Bronzeville looks like.
Bronzeville has a rich and proud history that its residents are using to shape the future of this neighborhood. This Black metropolis is so close to downtown, making it the perfect place to learn something new and indulge in something delicious.